ever, I think.
Yeah, I think that they built that right after Noah docked the boat.
I think so. I think so.
But it's a nice little spot, though. It's
Yeah.
right along the beeline there and everything. It's a good spot to be. And for our friends that are tuning in on Facebook, let me just get you up to speed again. Talking with Cindy Bryan, wellness advocate for Healthy Perspectives Wellness Center here in Payson at 616 South Beeline Highway, Suite 2. And now, as far as you've got services and products that you help people with, and I know we've talked about this many times, and people can also check out your website at healthypayson.com. But genotyping is one of the things that I know we've talked about before, but for people that aren't familiar with that, give us the Reader's Digest condensed version description, if that's possible.
Okay, well, it is a big topic, but
Right.
basically we're looking at aspects of our body chemistry.
Right.
So, we're a unique chemical cocktail, and what makes up that unique chemistry is our blood type. And then we have it's an aspect of our DNA that we look at. Are we a secretor or a non-secretor? Now that has nothing to do with do I have a lot of saliva or anything like that. Do I spit a lot? But
Do you slobber?
yeah,
Right.
but we're looking at the 19th chromosome in your DNA, and we're looking at, is it normal or is it mutated? So if it's normal, then you are a secretor, and you secrete the antigens of your blood type into all those bodily fluids, saliva, sweat, your digestive juices, and so on and so forth. And so we take that in consideration. And then whenever you were in fetal development, in that little 9-month incubator, you were surrounded by what?
Well, my mom, mostly.
Yeah, that's true. And embryonic fluids.
Right.
So those embryonic fluids are basically all chemical compounds. Okay? And so we are basically a result of those chemical compounds. And we're able now, through technology, artificial intelligence and such, and analysis, to be able to say, okay, here's your blood type. What the blood type takes in consideration is a thing called lectins in our foods, and the lectins in our foods have proteins in them. Our blood type is made up of all these various sugars, and they can have reactions. So in Chemistry 101, whenever you combine chemical compounds, what happens?
Yeah, things go downhill quickly.
Can. So it could be a kaboom, I don't want that to happen again.
Right.
Or it could be, wow, that was pretty cool. Now I need to make that predictable and repeatable. Or, there's no reaction whatsoever. So there's foods that cause inflammatory processes for our body. It causes our immune system to have to come out and try to clean up things.
Right.
And so genotyping, what we're able to do ultimately is to determine the foods that are food is medicine for you, the foods that don't help or hurt you, but you can still consume them, or the foods that are actually creating that inflammatory process.
Right. And I know a lot of people will know you on kind of a weight loss level, because you've done a lot of work with helping people get their weight under control, and you yourself managed to lose quite a few pounds here a few years ago.
I did. I lost 75 pounds.
75 pounds?
Yep.
That's
now,
a whole
I
nother
haven't
person.
kept it all off.
Well, but
life happens.
Yes.
And
it's getting old ain't easy.
And you have to be willing to make those changes consistently.
Still, that's interesting though. 75 pounds. I mean, that's a major shift for anybody.
Right. It's some people don't even recognize me.
And is it the success that you had, in your opinion, tied directly to trying to again determine what types of foods are really good for your body and or what types aren't?
Actually, 2 different programs. So there's many ways to, for example, lose weight. How I originally lost that weight is through my program that I have now, which is utilizing ideal protein protocols. And that's a European protocol. It was developed by a medical doctor. He first developed it for the French Olympic team. You know how overweight the
Olympians are always overweight, right?
Right. So what they were really wanting out of that was they were wanting to be able to lose down to the lowest possible, safest body fat composition and maintain and or build their lean muscle mass. So that's where the protocol actually originated from. And then in 2008, they came to the United States, and I ended up going to a lecture that a doctor was doing down in Phoenix, and lo and behold, I decided to try it. And,
Wow.
you know, so I lost that weight in 2008, 2009 timeframe. It took me about
Mhm.
6-8 months to lose that 75
Well,
pounds.
that's an amazing transformation
Yeah.
in 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. And then, so that's probably what I'm most known for in town,
Right.
is the weight loss program. And that weight loss program has evolved over the years because I've had many people go through the program. I have many success stories, but I also have people in the community that, you know, they've gone through the program and then they've gained their weight back. Why do you think that is?
Well, they didn't stick with the program, or
Life happens,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
life happens, etc. But yeah, they did not ultimately change their lifestyle habits. So, you know, I have a, you know, so when it comes to weight loss, I usually want to sit down with a person and find out specifically what their real goals are, and then determine which program is better for them, or maybe both programs. So an example might be, if I have somebody who needs to lose 75 pounds, then I'm going to put them in my ideal protein protocol, because women lose an average of 2+ pounds and about an inch and a half of fat per week. And the men lose on an average of 3+, and about the same
is that because
inches.
men are just more full of it, or what?
Well, I would agree with you on that, but it's because you guys have more muscle mass and
Right.
you have a faster metabolism.
And that's one of the challenges
Really
too,
not
is
fair.
how to lose weight but not lose muscle mass.
Exactly,
Yeah, because that's you definitely don't want that to happen.
exactly.
And one of the other things that you do that I think is fascinating, and I want to hear more about, is you've been working with mystery symptoms and illnesses and viruses and stuff. What's this all about?
Well, you know, we all have things where, you know, these things are usually chronic. You know, in other words, they've been around for a very long time.
Right.
Most people have gone to various doctors, or done procedures, or taking medications, and it doesn't resolve their issues completely. So what ends up happening is people get frustrated and they start doing their own research, and then guess what? They end up on the doorstep of somebody like myself, a natural health practitioner. And I have a gift and a passion for being able to sit down with a person and do a consultation, and I'm basically a detective. So,
That makes sense.
you know, a detective, and then it's a partnership in figuring out what is going on. And a good portion of the time, it's related to what we're putting in our body, what we're putting on our body, and what we're surrounding ourselves with environmentally. And there's a lot of viruses that are at the base of these issues, whether it's viruses, bacteria, etc. I mean, it could be Epstein-Barr, it could be shingles,
Right.
it could be streptococcus. You know, there's all types of things that get established in our body.
And to do the analysis, to be able to figure out what the problems are, another thing that you're doing is hair analysis.
I do.
So what do we learn from looking at our hair?
So, our body, we have so just like we have a cardiovascular system,
Mhm.
we also have a mineral system in our body. And the minerals actually dissipate into the soft tissue of our body. The hair happens to be the soft tissue. So we're able to take the samples of the hair, and then we send it off to a lab, and they break it down, and they're able to analyze that mineral composition, as well as heavy metals in the system. So what we can see from that is, I can see if a person is processing their sugars and carbohydrates or not.
Right.
If they're not, then that means they've got diabetes,
Right.
typically, or hypoglycemic, in other words, low blood sugar issues. I can see their thyroid function, and I'm talking about from a cellular perspective. I can see I can see the adrenal function. I can see whether or not they've been under long-term stress, or was this an acute situation? Did it just happen?
Right.
And then protein synthesis and such. And so usually what comes out of that hair analysis is a process because those heavy metals, if you have certain heavy metals, it's going to block absorption of key minerals. And it wouldn't matter how much you take of those minerals, if you've got the heavy metal setting in that receptor site, no go. So have natural, gentle, and easy detoxification, heavy metal detoxes, and so on and so forth that we can do that will bring back the, taking a person out of adrenal, you've probably heard of the, adrenal burnout, right?
Okay.
So, do you know very many people that, they're just tired all the time? It doesn't matter if they've slept 3 hours or whether they've slept 10 hours, they feel the same. They'll be in a meeting in the afternoon and, they're listening, but they're kind of nodding off a bit.
Right.
Their adrenals are bombarded.
Well, and we can, I think many of us have heard about how many, toxic substances we take into our system. And one of the things that you do also is provide detoxification protocols so that people can detox, and that can make a big difference as well in many different ways.
Absolutely. It's empowering for an individual to take control of their health and well-being, and they're doing it naturally. We're using foods. There's specific foods. There's specific herbs and tinctures and various things and we do use certain supplementation that will basically chelate out. So whenever I use the word chelation is a term where we're drawing things out of the body. So, we don't want to draw out vital minerals in the body at the same time of when we're trying to pull out a heavy metal.
Right.
So there's certain products and foods and such that do that process.
Well, I've never been a fan of heavy metal anyway. But you provide...
and you work for the station.
Yes, right. No heavy metal, though. Individualized nutritional consultations, so people can come in and actually consult with you on getting a game plan together to take care of some of these things.
Absolutely. It starts with you make a call to the office. My office administrator will schedule the person. It takes approximately about an hour and 15 minutes. We do some baseline data gathering. We check your weight, your body fat composition. That's always a fun one. And measurements, blood sugar, blood pressure. We test your pH, your saliva, and your urine. And then I sit down and I do a full-blown, let's just call it an investigation. It's a discovery process. Right. And you have a health profile that you have completed. And if you have a copy of your most recent blood work, we take a look at that. And then based upon that dialogue that goes back and forth, then I start coming up with, okay, here's the specific suggestions, recommendations, and of course prioritizing, because some people have many things going on. And, have you ever seen the dam that the beaver made? And you have to pull out that right log for it.
Right, the whole thing to collapse, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to do a prioritization. We can't accomplish everything all at one time.
Well, and that brings us to some of the products that you also carry. And I know vitamins and supplementation specific in your marketing materials here, specific to your blood type. So what might be good for someone with O negative is not necessarily the same as someone with A positive blood. Is
that is correct. There's multivitamins, there's, well, let's take a simple one, probiotics. Do you think everybody's intestinal tract is the same?
Right.
No. Different volumes and different types of critters that are bacteria, basically, and fungus-based things that are in the system. So we have supplementation, like I said, multivitamin. We have a multi-mineral. Not everybody is supposed to take a calcium, magnesium, even though there's lots of studies out there that say that. You need one that's specific to your blood type, how your body will actually absorb it and put it to use. And then we have a product that, remember me talking about those lectins earlier on? Their lectins are, they cause, the medical term is called agglutination. I'll repeat it, agglutination. So they cause things to stick together, blood cells to stick together.
Right.
If we had just a little bit of those blood cells sticking together, it wouldn't be that big of a thing, right? But if we had enough blood cells sticking together, who do you think that might call out in our body
Oh,
as a natural response?
well, it's hard to say. I mean, if you have, then you're talking about the lack of circulation in some places as a result, right?
So the immune system, our little army, our army's going to come out because, hey, that lectin that was in that food, it was introduced from outside the body, right?
Okay.
And now it's commingling with a part of the body. So now we have a foreign invader. What does our body want to do with foreign invaders?
Kill.
Yeah, kick them out. And so it's going to go after those. So if you had enough, so let's just say, for example, lectins, they have an affinity for the joints. So you eat something that you think is really good for you, but per your blood type and genotype and so on and so forth, it's not. So those lectins start attaching to the joints. So then it calls out the immune system, the army, and they go to battle. And but then you reintroduce it continuously. And so now the immune system is going to do some friendly fire.
Okay.
Meaning it's going to start attacking the cartilage and so on and so forth. And then what does that result in?
Pain.
Exactly. It's an inflammatory process. So you've got pain. And then if it's not really dealt with, then you get to replace joints.
Oh, lovely.
So, I mean, in the years that you've been doing your work, especially in your, out across the seas, and you've been in the medical profession and so on and so forth, haven't you seen a lot more joint replacements just in the past 10 years?
That's very true.
So it's a big part of and it's not about, hey, I was an athlete and I did lots of running, or I was a big hiker and I did lots of hiking. I mean, I have clients who are way up in their years and they have no joint pain whatsoever. It's just everybody is different.
That says something. Now, and of course, with all the, I think the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic right now kind of brings it to mind, but it seems like everybody is focused on how can we build up our immune system better, and you have some solutions for that as well.
I do, specific ones. And again, it depends on the person, what their situation is, what are they going through, what are they taking, how are they eating. So that's why it's not a one size fits all, hey, go in here and do this. I mean, yes, we do know some specific things like, vitamin C and, things that they've been talking about. And I have all of those types of products, but it's also the product, if you're using a particular product, it's the quality of the product. Does it have fillers in it? What are the preservatives, etc.? And that's one of the things that I have a passion for, is to make sure that the products that I recommend, I use, of course not all of them, but I use a lot of them personally, and my family does, and my friends do as well. Right. So, and they're backed up by, people having good experience with them.
Right. Now, I know that you also provide a lot of different medicinal organic herbs, extracts, and teas and things like that. When it comes to some of the detoxification things, I understand too that you have products that are really gentle on the system. It's not like, someone's going to necessarily take this and wow, this is really going to wipe me out for a few days or anything like that. Right.
Well, some of the cleanses that are out there today are that way.
Yeah.
I've certainly worked with a number of people that they decided first of the year, I'm going to, improve my health, and I'm going to cleanse this, and I'm going to do a liver cleanse and a colon cleanse and a kidney cleanse and a this cleanse and a that cleanse, and they end up in my office and they're worse than what they were. So we've all used, and I think in the very beginning of my years, you see, I've here in Payson, I've been in practice for this is my 16th year.
Right.
And what I did in the very beginning is actually different than what I do today, because I've learned, and I'm constantly learning new things
Right.
As I go. And so those gentle detoxification is using more food-based
Right.
products, or food, to be able to cleanse the
Right.
body and use that as the medicine for the body.
And your products go beyond just the detox. I mean, you have skincare products, dental care products, yeah, a lot of different stuff.
Absolutely. And all of those products are green. There's no additives to them. If I'm working with a particular company that they changed their formula, and they, some bean counter has decided to, hey, let's see if we can squeeze some more profitability here and,
Right.
and go with a cheaper product. Then I take those things out of my product line. Whenever I go to, there's these natural health expos, and there's the largest one in California, and there's a whole, there's like 9,000 vendors there, and there's a whole vendor section that if I wanted to come up with formulate my own products, at this table, you'd be talking to this particular vendor that they have vitamin C as an example, and I'll take vitamin B12 as a prime example. The vitamin B12 here is a natural source, and so on and so forth. And let's just say that it was $1,000 a kilo, and then you go across the aisle, and they've got a synthetic B12, and that's $500 a kilo. Which would you choose?
Well, it depends on if you're just focused on price, right?
Bingo. So, I'm focused on quality
Right.
and results. That's what it's all about.
And it's interesting. And you have organic, whole, and raw foods that are available, and even household cleaning and laundry products.
I do. And these products are safe on the environment. They're safe for you. Because I work with a lot of people who are sensitive to things, and you've noticed that we have a lot more sensitivity nowadays than we did in the past. So it's important, that whatever you're surrounding yourself with needs to be something that, some of the things that we clean with, we could actually eat if we wanted.
So
And not that
you can
hungry for it.
detox your system, but also keep from retoxing it by using different products.
Absolutely.
I don't know if retoxing is a term.
No, I like that
But
term,
it works.
Randy, but it's so true, because we're subjected to toxicity every day we walk out into the environment, because
Right.
our air quality, all of those things.
Yeah, all too true.
Mhm.
Now, if some of what we've been talking about here, whether it's the genotyping, the weight loss, the services or products, whatever, I understand that you actually provide a complimentary initial information session. If people want to just come to you and talk to you about, this is my situation, and you can give them an overall idea then, or of what they might want to, be tested for first, or whatever.
Absolutely. I sometimes have people who already know, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds, and I know people who have done your program, and that's where we'll basically sit down and we'll go through, here's what the program looks like, here's
Right.
what the costs are, you specifically, because I'll have to get some information from that person, because like I said, it's different for every person. Genotyping, that's about a 30-minute session where I will go over the concepts of genotyping and answer any questions that they might have. We have webinars, so if a person does not want to come into the office, we have the ability to hook them up and do that
Nice.
over the phone.
Okay.
So,
And as we mentioned early on, you can find out more if you so choose by logging on to healthypayson.com. Now, people can just call you to set up an appointment or whatever, and if so, what's the phone number to call?
yes, it's 928-472-7120. So that's 928-472-7120.
And you're open to the public Tuesdays from 9 to 5, Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 4, and by appointment only on Mondays and Fridays. And again, that phone number is 928-472-7120, and the website is healthypayson.com. Cindy Bryant, once again, thanks for coming in. It's been a pleasure talking
Thanks
with
for
you.
having me.
All right, we got to
Happy
get
New Year.
yeah, happy New Year to you too. Thank you. We got to get you back to more of your favorite music. As a matter of fact, got some tunes coming up from Cat Stevens, Big Todd and the Monsters, the Black Crowes, and a whole bunch more. But first, a quick look at Rim Country weather.
All right. Thanks.
Here, quick.